Alright gang, I played a bajillion games in 2023. I'm a gamer, I know. Now it's time for our New Year's tradition where I rank everything I played last year from least good to best good.
Everybody! 1, 2. Bitch!
I had no intention of playing this until I found it for $5, and I guess at that price it's, let's call it Mario Party for babies. Because as we all know, Mario Party destroys friendships and skin cells. It's a game for hardened psychopaths. 1-2 Switch is a game that has to explain the objective to you 3 times and then make you practice while the live actors try to convince you you're having fun and not an aneurysm. Some of the games are actually unique and interesting, but most feel like something Wii Party did over a decade ago, dragged out for twice as long, and yeah, if given the option, I'm never gonna choose this over those. But even as my worst game of 2023, it's not horrible, nor is it Wario. Wario World is GameCube slop and basically remembered for being the only 3D Wario platformer, and the pause screen music. It does try some interesting things, but that's all quickly swept away by the jank physics and fixed camera. Next we got Trombone Champ. It was like $10. It's fun to mess around with on the Switch, so I don't really regret it. It's nice to have a game that still makes me laugh using motion controls. After a few songs though, it gets old quick. Metroid Prime Federation Force, the infamous title from E3 2015. It's definitely overhated and a pretty fun game, but half of the charm is because it's a 3DS co-op shooter. If you took this thing off the 3DS, it would just be 7th gen Fiddle Faddle. Number 16, we got Pokemon White. Okay, all right, wait a minute. No, I'm dead either way for this. Back in 2011 and on original hardware, I can understand why this was divine. It has a lot of charming things about it and stuff I can totally see myself at the time really appreciating after Gen 4. You know, the story, the seasons, those really cool 3D overhead shots, and with that, especially the music, they got this, ooh! Game Freak nailed this ambiance. I love it. In fact, I basically loved all that stuff when playing it for the first time this year, but mainline Pokemon games and their predominant use of single battles, it's just too slow for me. I played Coliseum and I have never emotionally come back. The other perk to these games is the PvP, and since I'm 12 years past it on an emulator, spaghetti. So maybe it's not so much Pokemon White, but me for playing it so much later. But Resident Evil 4?
Ashley.
Don't come!
Come.
Now this is an even older game with an updated Switch port that I played the same year a remake came out, and it's the same f***ing story. I see why Resident Evil 4 is considered peak, I get why people lost their shit when this came out, but Jesus, the controls and this little gremlin. It was my first RE game, so I was hesitant to play because this game is considered scary, and it is. It's anxiety printed on a disc, but that's when I realized every game for the first time is scary. Learning is scary. But when you do finally learn, it becomes cake. Like, here's a serious attempt at Resident Evil 4, playing while conserving resources, holding a defensive line, and here's what happens when you realize none of that shit matters. Alright, so real quick before we continue down the list, let me just tell you about a few non-ranked light dabbles from the year. Metroid Prime Remastered, a gorgeous new version of the classic that I have yet to actually unseal. I'm just not ripe for the replay yet, but it is gorgeous looking. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, I played this a lot with my friends, and I gotta say, the map is terribly confusing, but this has arguably one of the best approaches to Kirby multiplayer, period. With just a few modern refreshers, this has the potential to be unlimited fun. Starfield, one of this year's most anticipated games, my first Bethesda game, and I put a whopping 120 minutes into it. And it looked entirely like this. Hey, by the way, Voyan, was that Raincode game any good? I can't help but compare this with Danganronpa, as that was this game's universal selling point for a lot of people, myself included. The writing, the twists, they are definitely on par, especially towards the end. I found myself unable to put the game down. However, I do feel that the game's biggest moments lack what Danganronpa has, which is the sense of group. Those tense, dramatic moments in the class trials when someone slips up on a lie and you gradually realize, and then the music starts playing when you have to choose the killer. Oh, yeah, mystery labyrinths are just kinda not that. Still, I'd say this game is worth checking out to anyone who played Danganronpa, as you will most undoubtedly recognize and admire its DNA.
I am so naive that the servants call me Dummy Thick behind my back.
Number 13, Sonic Superstars. Every time Sonic is in 3D, it's like, yeah, he certainly is, isn't he? 2D Sonic, though, that's my jam, and this one is alright. My only real gripe with this game is how much time is spent on bosses and special zones. Sonic is all about moving fast, but Fire Emblem Engage, the very first game I played this year, it's a pretty fun strategy game with a f***ing dog shit story. Screw that, if I wanted to play a game with a skippable story, it's not time for that yet. Dropping in 11th place, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I wonder why it took Nintendo so long to make this game. Mario died. He did. He died on March 31st, 2021, and he's been waiting for his great 2D revival, and he finally got it here, and it's great and epic, and it's full of cool ideas and has these tiny moments that make you laugh out loud to yourself, except you're never actually alone because you always have friends, always. Even if you can't touch them and they only ever seem to acknowledge you when they need something. Yeah, this game is great. Most games I'd love to hate, right? Welcome to my YouTube channel. But Suika is a game I hate that I love, because the whole thing feels incredibly cheap. It is incredibly cheap. For just $2.99, you can have one song that doesn't loop, one mode, a couple leaderboards, and a ridiculously simple and addictive puzzle game. You just want the fruits to get bigger for more points, but bigger fruits means less space and more little fruits that get in the way from combining them together. So you gotta use gravity and friction to your advantage, but hopefully not too much, because then you'll send the fruit out of the box and... Yakuza 6.5. For context, I also played the Kaido Files this year, which is the DLC for Lost Judgment, and it was pretty mid, much the same as Yakuza 2 Kiwami's Majima little side story. These bite-sized Yakuza arcs are neither interesting enough with a full cast of characters or how limited their aspects are, and so I was hesitant showing up to Gaiden, but they weren't gonna do anything lackluster for Kiryu's return to the main role. No, they truly modernized the game by adding a grappling hook. At number 8, WarioWare got a new entry this year. I think the reasons that Smooth Moves and Twisted are my favorite WarioWare games are because they're the only games that make you physically match the silliness within the games. I love the wacky movements. It's another game that just makes you laugh out loud a lot to yourself the whole time you're playing, and the motion controls do take some getting used to. They want you to be in the exact position, and anything less than that will not register. Then they start throwing buttons into the mix. If you ask me though, the real light to this game is the multiplayer because it simplifies the controls and it's got the mega micro game mini games. Damn. Advance Wars! You need to know. I bought these in the summer of 2019. By the time I was ready to play them, a remake was announced in 2021. Then it got delayed to 2022 and then 2023. So I really waited till marriage for this one, but my word, it was instantly enthralling. A strategy game without experience points? Who invited Miyamoto? But it's actually really fun. Each game works out kinda something like a game of chess, but it's advanced. Then I played the second game, and honestly, I like that one significantly less because the enemy has way more than you. The appeal of the first game is that chess analogy, that both sides are even and I have the same things, but in the second game, they got all these big-ass machines and Doom 2016. Holy shit, why didn't you guys get me to play this sooner? I've been interested in this ever since it killed at the 2016 Game Awards, and it was a mindless, non-stop good time. Has the internet taught you anything? Boys don't want to love, they just want to play games where they shoot everything. Yeah, we do. Kirby's Return to Dreamland went about as well as it could, a classic Wii co-op experience reborn on Switch. After 10 years, I was glad to play this with a whole new group of people, not only for the new mini-games and challenges, that was pretty fun, but just that the game's plot twist and following boss fights are still as fun today as it was then. And then they have a whole epilogue, I guess that's alright too. But we can't talk about beloved re-releases of games with life-changing music without discussing... I cannot put into words what this game means to me. This was about as close as I got. But I am in the debt of God, Namco, for giving it the reroll treatment. If there ever was one, We Love Katamari is the perfect sequel, expanding on the ideas from the original, deepening the lore, and of course, once again, the soundtrack. You can appreciate all of these things, or you can just view it as rolling more stuff up, because that's how the game views itself.
And that, dear friends, was the plot and purpose of the fabulous game called
Katamari Damacy!
Part of being a critic is owning up to the times when you are wrong, and if you have been on my channel for the past year and a half, you know that I have not been kind to Tears of the Kingdom. My biggest question was why a game that took so much from its predecessor could also take so long, and now I completely understand. Physics. Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom was loads of fun, and it's my most played game from the year, and I could sing a bunch more praises, but I think we'll save that for maybe a bigger video. Super Mario Ho RPG. Oh my god, Square Enix, look at this shit. You really outdid you. Damn. 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 May I pose to you how scary modern game development is? We wait years and years and years for sequels, expectations rising with each, or losing faith somewhere along the way. And also a game close to a decade in manufacturing can potentially succeed? So that all that effort, love, and passion might pay off? With Pikmin 4, failure was never in the question. The team behind this one found a way to take that special thing from each entry before it, the aspects of the series we fell in love with, combine it into one entry, and still add so much more, plus a f***ing dog. But even if you just want to forget the gameplay for a second and just admire the beauty of minuscule perspective, the world of Pikmin 4 holds secrets like no other. One minute you'll be finding something buried in the sand, and the next you're carrying a loose copy of Wave Race Blue Storm on the game. Alright. Pikmin as a concept is already hard enough to explain, so to explain why Pikmin 4 is so good will never be enough. Don't live your whole life without trying this game. It's a f***ing masterpiece.